Welcome to the Planning Commission for Thursday, April 7th. It is about 12:03 p.m. Looking up and down the dais, we do have a quorum with one member absent, an excused absence. And we have several people are here with us today. And for those of you who plan to speak to the Planning Commission, if you would raise your right hand and swear that you will be telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to this body by saying I do. Great, thank you. Cases, we do not have any cases today before the Planning Commission, but we do have two communications. And the first communication, which I'm going to turn over to start with David Riggs, and this is a Title 41 Marietta Memorial Freestanding Emergency Room Department at 206 Columbus Road. Mr. Riggs.
Thanks, Mayor and Planning Commission. The Marietta Memorial, you've seen this before. Marietta Memorial came in as a emergency structure, was going to be one story at this location. They have made some requests to change that and resubmitted. We decided that looking at their plans that this was a major change to the site plan that would have to come back again to the Planning Commission for review and approval. The major change is that they are changing this to 4 stories with a 5th story for mechanical, so they're going up basically in height, and they're actually going to have a parking garage instead of just a one level parking area in order to accommodate that on the same footprint that they had originally planned. And I think we've got somebody here that can discuss that a little bit more. You've seen some of this information in your packet, as well as some of the architectural renderings of the building itself. We did get one comment back from the fire department that they need access to at least 3 sides of the structure. They will require a 20-foot fire lane around the back of that structure, so this plan may need to change a little bit in order to accommodate that for the fire department.
Would you like to speak to this project?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Scott Sands. I'm the civil engineer for the project, part of the design team. I have with me today
Tila Taylor, Vice President, Memorial Health System.
So we're available to answer any questions. I think Mr. Riggs did a nice job of explaining what is going on. The project is growing, which I think is a good thing. Going to be a more robust facility than was originally anticipated. So in talking with staff, we felt it was necessary to come back to Planning Commission one more time to share the new plan and talk about what's going on. As he indicated, the footprint of the building and the site really isn't changing much, but the building is growing taller and the parking garage is being added. So from the standpoint of how it impacts the site, it doesn't really change a whole lot, but taller building, parking garage, and so some things that have to be dealt with. In response to the comment from the fire chief, it's interesting because we on the design team had a design meeting a couple days ago, and we had talked about that very issue with that access lane around the back side of the building being a little bit narrower than we would like to see it, and the fire chief had exactly the same concern. So we had already started looking at that prior to knowing about that comment today. So that's something that I don't see it being an issue. We're going to be able to widen that lane out to accommodate that request. So I guess with that, I would turn it over, and if you let us know if you have any questions, and we'll try to answer them the best we can.
So this project had always kind of been planned to be a phased project. Correct. Is that still the approach that you're going to take? Will there be multiple phases, or is this going to be done all at one time?
So the building levels itself is still anticipated to be phased, with levels 1 and 2 being completed first, then 3 and 4 subsequently after, probably within months.
And so for phase 1 and 2, or phase 1 being
Yeah.
first and second floor,
Yes.
mechanicals then would be on top of that? Is that correct?
They will be on the backside of the first floor is what I understand for those first 2 floors.
And then mechanicals with phase 2 going up 2 more floors, that will be on the rooftop? Or
Correct,
I
or
see.
on the interstitial.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You, I think I saw somewhere that you're going to use modular units for this? Is
Yes,
that still the case?
yes, advanced component manufacturing.
Okay, and so you'll stack the second phase. Will part of the first phase be modular units as well?
Absolutely.
It
The
will
first
be,
and second floors will be done that same way.
the same way, all the, okay.
Any other questions?
I don't have any other.
Yeah, I don't have any questions either.
Is the rest of the land able to be developed? I know you're having to put in significant infrastructure to get this to work. Is there ability to go even further back on that land, or this is pretty much,
Yeah, it's pretty much it, because of
Okay.
the floodway back there, we are going through a process with FEMA to make some modifications to the floodway, for this project, but, yeah, it would be a significant effort to do any further development back toward the river.
cool, I was just curious.
Yeah, and that was part of the decision to go up, because the footprint around, it wouldn't make sense to, go on up the road or down the road if we could stay in the same basic footprint and maximize the land uses and access.
Great. Looks beautiful.
I got one other question about it's a nice looking building. The parking garage, how does that fit into the phasing plan?
I believe it's gonna come along with the second phase as floors 3 and 4 come into play.
So you'll have surface parking
We
for
will
the
have surface
first
parking.
phase?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
I have a question, it's not a large one, but I wanted to know, I was doing my homework before I came here, and then I realized it's all changed. But anyway, having said that, that means that the pyramids or the things that were holding up the parking lot in the past are gone, right? There's no sort of,
Elevated parking closer
Yeah.
to the river?
yeah, I mean, this right here.
So the parking that's closer to the river, that parking deck that kind of juts out the back toward the river, that actually will be elevated. So that'll be on columns that extend up, maybe as much as 10 feet or so out above the ground, so that, that water will be able to flow through underneath that parking structure. And that was a decision that was made, at some point during the design process, so we wouldn't have to put additional fill material in the floodway there.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Okay, my other question is, I was just wondering if it's not favorable, maybe you can't do it, but I was wondering if you couldn't say what the dimensions are that you're using at some point, the site plan, the size of the place, the size of the, it may seem like you've been working on it for years. I look at it, and I looked at it lots of times, 20 years or so living, maybe more like 50, I'm lying. And I'd like to know exactly how much land is there. I know you paid a goodly amount of money, somebody did. I just wanted to know, like how deep it is. When it gets there, is it going to look like it's really, really tight? Or, because it doesn't say on this one, which I printed out in my non-color printer, which I have here, but I don't see any dimensions. And it's really,
Certainly, we can provide additional dimensions.
yeah, that's the new one. That one is okay, the one that wasn't in my packet. Is that, what does it say there? This distance and then, okay. That was my only complaint. Thank you.
Yeah, if you could provide that to Director Riggs, and he can send it on to us.
Yeah, it's kind of,
I think just the square footage footprint of the overall project. Do you also want to know for the helipad and everything, all in?
I would really just like to know how much depth there is, how much width. I guess if they can fit another 20 feet behind the building, that's good, as per the fire chief. But
Well, the road behind the building, we're currently, I think, showing it at 12 feet wide, so we just need another 8 feet of width there to get to the 20.
Yeah.
So it's not a big issue.
Okay. I had two questions, and I don't have anything else. One being, can you remind us all, you know, when this is all complete, how many full-time equivalents, how many full-time employees would there be with the hospital?
Approximately 160.
160.
nurses.
Yeah. And do you have any updates for us in terms of any reports back from FEMA? Is no,
Unfortunately.
ongoing with FEMA?
Yeah, we are in contact with FEMA regularly. It's the Chicago office, and trying to encourage them to complete their review. We've addressed all the comments that they had on their last review, so we don't anticipate any problem going forward, but just kind of waiting for the wheels of government to...
Flash floods are quick, FEMA is slow.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else from the commissioners?
No.
I just wanted to remind the board that the Marietta Memorial will need to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a height variance. They're going to do that on Tuesday the 12th, so they'll be going to Board of Zoning Appeals seeking a variance for that height.
Great.
Do you see any issues with that, Dave?
I don't. I think the intent of that height restriction in our code, I think, is twofold. One is to make sure that we have fire and emergency equipment that can reach the height that is listed there, and the other would be for view sheds. And this is actually in a fairly low area of the city, one of the lowest areas in the city. So the impact on view sheds, I think, will be minimal here.
Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, University Estates Cornerstone Development Communication. You just introduce yourself and
Patrick Lawson. I'm one of the co-developers, I guess I should say. And this is my first time before Planning Commission, so you might guide me through what you need to know.
if you would just give us an update on the project itself, or actually, why don't we start with city planner or thank you, Pat.
Sure, Mayor, I can speak a bit on this. The representatives from Cornerstone have been working with the city for over 3 years now. They have an approved development agreement that they negotiated with city council originally in 2020, and then was renegotiated to adjust for increased costs for construction materials and all of that, as we saw inflation occurring through the pandemic and supply chain issues. And so that was the development agreement was modified and then reapproved by city council last May, I believe. And the project is essentially, the development agreement includes an allowance from city council to support a TIF, tax increment financing, through this project to help offset the cost for public improvements for street, curb, gutter, sewer infrastructure, sidewalk, et cetera. And so as part of that, the developers have agreed, or they're asking for flexibility with the space. It's zoned for single-family residential, kind of large lot, larger homes. And this will give them flexibility to put in a fee-simple townhouse project, about 50 units, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Lawson. And then as part of that, the city conditioned it for the units must be deed restricted for the first 5 years of sale for owner occupied, and a certain percentage of the homes would be universal design, so that there's a first floor primary bedroom, bathroom suite, and kitchen that are accessible for wheelchair use, et cetera. And then also that the buildings be prepped so that they are solar ready and as much as possible. And also that there's a ceiling on the price point that they can list these properties at for a base unit, to make sure that we are trying to get homes being sold that are more affordable than what the market is currently bearing for Athens. And I'm sure many of you have seen what the price for housing is in Athens County right now. Even in the city of Athens, I was just looking at it yesterday, I think there's only like 10 homes for sale in the entire city. And of those, a handful are student rentals, and then a handful of single-family homes that are pretty expensive for the most part, a lot higher than they would have been, say, 5 or 10 years ago. So, and with that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Lawson, and they want to talk in more detail about their project.
Oh, before we get there, I mean, you mentioned the tax incremental financing. This
Yes.
is not the traditional TIF. This is a
It's a 10-year.
10-year neighborhood
rolling 10-year.
revitalization TIF to where it can be used, correct me if I'm wrong, city planner, that it's 70 or 75% capture,
I believe 70.
70%, so the remaining 30% goes to the school district. It goes to all the other allocations that it would normally go to.
As normal, yep.
It would, it's for 10 years. It can it roll for a second 10 years? Or is it
I
10
believe they
years?
can petition for another 10 years, yeah. No, I'm sorry, no, it's 10-year flat.
10-year flat. And then that money can be used for covering infrastructure costs that the developer would normally have to bear, which is one of the major stumbling blocks, roadblocks that gets in the way of development these days. You know, when I look around at developable properties here in the city of Athens that doesn't have the road infrastructure, water, sewer, storm, then, you know, it almost becomes insurmountable to make that pencil out for a house to be built and sold if you also have to roll in the infrastructure to make that work. So this is one of those tools that we've never used. We've gone through a lot of work with you to try and figure this out. How do we make this work? And I think we're finally there. So to, again, give developers that they need to be able to make things pencil out. So that all said, do you want to give us any updates on the plans?
The plans are basically done, but we do have a little bit of a stumbling block right now as far as the city's easements with the lift station and our sanitary run to it. So depending upon how that turns out, that's kind of got us held up again.
So if you guys would look at this sheet here, this was the approved set of construction drawings that was completed in 2008. I believe it did go to Planning Commission for review and approval as well as City Council. It shows on here, you can maybe see it, a proposed sanitary sewer and a proposed lift station. We're not sure that those were actually recorded, and so we're doing some research to try to figure out whether those were recorded as easements in this open space area between Homestead Court and Walnut Court. So once we figure that out, I think Cornerstone will be able to move forward. Yeah, this one here.
Remind me, how many, so each unit is going to have 3 condos per
There will
unit?
be 15 buildings.
15 buildings.
13 of them will have 3 units. 2 will have 2 units. So there'll be a total of 43.
43.
Yes.
Thanks.
And how soon before we'll know about the easement? Director Riggs, do we have any idea?
We're going to be, Service Safety Director Stone will be working on that, I think, with the Engineering Public Works to try to figure that out, because it is their existing sanitary sewer lift station that's in that area. So they'll be working on that. I don't have a time frame for when that would be complete.
Okay.
And are you doing these all at once, or are you still phasing, doing like
No,
3?
they will be phased in as sales predict
Yeah, okay.
or require.
Yeah, cool.
We're going to start off with 2 buildings at the very front, 3 units apiece,
Okay.
3 bedroom, and then we will move on from there.
Great. All right. Well, we'll get to work on the easement.
Can I ask, would it be possible, so I look at the elevation of the buildings, and I think they look fine, they look nice. Are they all going to be the same,
Yes,
essentially?
except there will be different bedrooms for each unit.
Right, but
Yeah.
I mean, the exterior of the building.
The exterior will be
Is
the
it
same.
possible to change the architecture a little bit so that they're not like all the same building down the line? I mean, would be nice, I think that'd be
Anything's
nice.
possible.
Yeah,
I guess it's just a matter of what you want to do with it. If you change that facade, it would seem to me that someone may come along and say, I don't like that one, I want that one.
yeah.
So then you would get into, I don't know, it might look like a patchwork quilt by the time you were done.
Well, I just think maybe sometimes, some of the roof line's a little different, some of the exterior finishes a little different, upgrades or something. Something so that the neighborhood didn't look like you cloned it one after another down the line, which is kind of what's happening. I just think it would enhance the neighborhood and continue to enhance the development. So that's just my thought about
Well,
that.
we would be open
Yeah.
to looking at different things like that. I'll mention it to the engineers
Okay,
and see if we can come up with something we think will work.
thank you.
Sure.
To the commissioner's point, so there's going to be the price point home in interior, the flooring, the countertops, and all the accoutrements that go into these units. But can someone who wants to purchase one of these, maybe one that hasn't been built yet, can they more customize the inside, or could they more customize, maybe the roof color? I don't know. Could they get different colored shingle if they wanted it, or something?
That's all something we could discuss and talk about with the engineers. But yeah, they can have different things for the interiors of the homes. We have those listed.
Right.
Okay.
Upgrades, we have a set, and then we have upgrades.
Yep.
But all these things you're asking, I mean, they're all possible.
Right.
It's just a matter of, will they sell?
Well, I
Is it a
understand
good
the
idea?
engineering's different when you start to change roofs
Yeah.
and do different things, and that probably does add more cost. I understand that, but, when we drive up there in that development, the houses are different, it doesn't seem, I mean, I don't know, it would just seem like that if you could carry that concept through so that there was some differences. Now, I understand, maybe the footprint is fixed or something, but somehow look at how you can give them a different appearance maybe from the street or something.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that
Yeah.
and discuss it, sure.
Okay. This is great. Our city needs affordable housing, and I know that we have a broad span of what affordable housing is, which came to us via the Affordable Housing Task Force that became the Affordable Housing Commission. So, again, I think that with having this different type of a TIF, it'll be interesting to see how this works, because I'm hoping that this can be carbon copied, which is kind of a dated term, but this can be replicated elsewhere throughout the city.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
We've been working on it for 3 years, trying to work out all the bugs so it can continue, so.
I know.
I have kind of a one-off question. So if somebody bought one of these units, would they be able to paint it whatever color they wanted? Or would it be in like its own little like HOA that there are like certain rules that you can't do?
They will be a part of the HOA, yes. So I doubt you could just paint the exterior of your particular unit any color that you wanted.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious if you own these, do you have free reign to do whatever you want? I was just kind of curious about that. So,
Depends on the homeowners association,
okay.
yeah.
I don't think it'll be part of ours, but yeah, anyway, we can, yeah. Look, I was just more curious about, that, so, thanks.
Any other
Thank you.
comments? That's great, thank you. I completely jumped over one of the items on our agenda, and that is number 2, the disposition of the February 17th meeting minutes. So if we can get a motion to adopt those.
I'll move that we adopt them as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Reports from the city planner and the director of development and code enforcement.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things this afternoon, the first of which is relating to housing and to the Age-Friendly Athens County project. Through Age-Friendly Athens County, we've been working for a while to try to find a permanent home for it. And Rebecca Miller, who's been kind of leading this project through the, I think, the College of Health Sciences at Ohio University, she's been working, she had conversations with several different entities around the county to see if anybody had an interest in kind of supporting this long-term. And I believe they've reached an agreement with the health department to take this under their wing, which is perfect, and we're excited about that. And we're continuing to work on housing issues, not just this Cornerstone project is a part of a long-term housing solution for the community, but it is not a final solution for housing issues. And so we're still really trying to diligently work to figure out a solution for senior housing in the community for the long term. That's still a pressing issue and is not Athens, like a lot of the United States. We have an aging population, and I'm sure as everybody knows, there is the housing problem in Athens is not unique to Athens. It's a real problem throughout the entire country right now, and so still trying to work through that. Other items, the last meeting of the Planning Commission, there was a motion to explore solar zoning for our open space zone. Our Vista employee, Jacob Kemp, he is working on that with me. Hopefully we might have a presentation either at the next Planning Commission meeting or the second meeting in May. No, excuse me, the next Planning Commission in April or the first meeting in May, depending on, but he's been working through that, doing some really valuable research for us. I also want to point out that there's a public event this Monday, April 11th, from 7 to 8 p.m. at the Athens branch of the Athens Public Library. There's a graduate student in landscape architecture from the University of Virginia. Her name is Sarai Carter. She was born and raised in Athens. She's doing a presentation for her landscape architecture master's degree about reimagining the Hocking River channel. And I've had several meetings with her over the last few months about this project, and she's met with a few other people around Athens County to learn more about the Hocking River and about concepts for it. And I've met with her faculty advisor as well. So if anybody has a chance, I think there'll be a display at the public library for at least a few days, if not a few weeks. And she's doing a public presentation from 7 to 8 p.m. on Monday. And if anybody has a chance, I know we have a council meeting that night, but it should be a really great. I was really excited to see what she was thinking about for that project.
What library was that at again?
The Athens Public Library.
Okay, at
on Elm
Athens,
Street.
okay.
Yeah. And we also have on Wednesday, April 13th, we have a public meeting relating to the fire station at the community center. I'm not sure the time on that, Mayor.
I believe it's 4:30 to 7.
Okay, and that's an open house, so people can come as they can, if I'm not
Please
mistaken.
come.
Okay, yep. That's all I have.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Mayor. I have nothing to report to the Planning Commission at this time.
Okay. Thank you, Director Riggs. Now we have an opportunity for citizens to speak on items not covered on the agenda. Now we have the Curbside Conversations Ambassador here with us today. Anything, Mr. Delac?
Just seeing what's going on.
Just seeing what's going on. All right. Announcements and other business. I'm glad that you brought up the open house for the fire department headquarters building. It'll be an important meeting because I think people will be provided with information, and in particular, differences in response times throughout the city with various locations that have been mentioned for the fire station headquarters landing in the future. The other thing I just want to mention is that the city has kind of grown in our recreational space and encouraged people to go down and look at the new riparian wetland / forest off of the bike path in between the Marietta Memorial / BDT Architecture Building and basically Walmart, where all that land has had the invasives removed, and it's basically a 5-year plan because we're going to have to stay on top of the invasives for a number of years, but we also plan to incorporate pollinators throughout that area. We'll also incorporate other native shrubs and trees over time, but it's quite the sight to see. It really changes the whole river viewshed for anyone who's been on the bike path and experienced that. I'm down there often with saw in hand, hacking away at invasives. It's kind of that's my chi, to do that. That's the only other thing that we have. We do have our next meeting, which is going to be April 21st. It will be here at noon as usual. So April 21, and other than that, if there's no other communications from anybody, may I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And a second? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.